right. Live from Los Angeles. Show the shirt is off the cuff. Welcome back to Joe the Shirt's Off the Cuff. I am your host, Joe, the one and only Shirt. So good to be back with everybody. So good. It's been roughly a month since last time I was with you guys. Just been keeping myself busy, trying to make the money, getting ready for what's going on. And you're wondering, Joe, what the hell is going on? Well, I wanted to get this particular show off my chest, if only for no other reason than my mother is coming to visit me this weekend. She's visiting me and the Russian, and not just my mother, mind you, because I have no problems with my mother after we buried our issues over religion and shit. And honestly, I could stick my mother by the pool downstairs and she'll be happy for the next week and a half. Okay, that's a fact. But the biggest issue is actually the fact that one of my sister Yamila, is coming to visit with her husband and her daughter, of course, my niece. And my sister is this particular sister is one of those people that loves to do every touristy thing humanly possible whenever she goes on vacation, okay? If there is a tourist trap anywhere within 50 miles of her, she's going, okay? That's just the way it is. So that's what I have to look forward to. She's coming to visit, and she's like, yeah, I want to see the Hollywood sign, I want to see the Walk of Fame, I want to see the Chinese Theater, I want to see the Santa Monica Pier, I want to go to the Venice Beach, I want to go to the Los Angeles Community Museum of Art, I want to go see Disneyland. I'm just there thinking to myself, why? That's all I can think of is why. Why would you want to go see those things? I don't want to go see those things. Hold on, let me adjust my. Okay, that's better. All right, yeah. So that's what I'm looking forward to this particular, not just this weekend, but like going through till next week. She's gonna be here sometime late tomorrow night, and they'll be leaving sometime very early, not this coming Monday, but the Monday after that. So they will be here a week and a half. Fortunately, they're not staying with us, okay? Because my sister is such a Disney-phile. She will actually be staying in Anaheim for at least 5 days of her trip. She's going to be staying over by the airport for the first 2 nights. Then she's moving into Anaheim for 5 days. And then she's going to the Sequoia National Park for about 3 or 4 days. Then from there, they're going to spend their last night here, which would actually be most of Sunday night. And then at 4 in the morning, we're supposed to take them to the airport, make sure they get on the plane, and get the fuck out of Los Angeles. And then to add just one more wrinkle to that, one of my other sisters, my sister Resida, who lives up in San Francisco, she's coming down to visit as well because, she heard my mom's going to be here, so my sister's going to be here. It's like, might as well go see my brother Joe. So yeah, it's going to be a big show family reunion over here, okay? And that's not even all my sisters, okay? That's only 2 of them. There's 3 more. There's another one in New York, another one that's still in Florida, and then there's another one that's currently in Korea. So, we like to get around, us Ricans. Hope you are all doing very, very well. Now, if you are wondering about today's title, we only tip citizens in Burkinis. The first part of that sentence, relates to a story I heard about yesterday, which I thought was absolutely hysterical. Apparently, this couple in somewhere in Virginia had gone into a little luncheonette to grab some lunch, and they sit at their table. The waitress, a lovely 18-year-old girl, comes to them and greets them, takes their order, brings them their food, asks them how they're doing, do they need anything else, and then when they're done, she comes back, she brings them the check, and when they leave, she notices that they did not leave her a tip. Which, you know, if you've ever worked in the food service industry, happens quite a bit more than you cheap motherfuckers out there would like to admit. All right? Now, what makes this story different is that on the check, in the spot where you would normally put in the tip amount, they wrote in the words, "We only tip citizens." I want you to just imagine that, okay? You are a young 18-year-old girl. You know, you work in a restaurant, and this young lady is of Latina descent. She is, I believe, a Honduran and Mexican of descent, and you're working your ass off, you know, in this goddamn luncheonette, you know, and you're taking care of this fucking bitch and her fucking husband, and you know, and she, according to the interview that I saw, she thought they were a little off from the jump. They would never make eye contact with her. They would barely speak to her other than to let her know exactly what it was that they wanted to eat or drink and when they wanted to check, and then to leave. And rather than give her a tip, they just wrote, you know, we only tip citizens. Now, the funny part is that this young lady, Sadie Elledge, is actually American born. Okay? She was born in this country. She is a citizen. All right? And to add to the funny of that particular story is the fact that the waitress, Sadie, described the woman that had written the note as having a pretty, you know, thick accent herself. But the story doesn't end here. Apparently, Sadie's grandfather caught wind of what happened and went on Facebook and let everybody know just how pissed off he was, and rightfully so, and that he said that he would gladly do jail time if he could punch one of these people in the face. And to add to the funny of that, he took a picture of the check with the woman's signature on it and posted it on Facebook. By the way, for those of you who don't know, the woman's name is Ada M. Doriat. That's Doriat. Ada, A-D-A, the letter M, period, and Doriat, D-O-R-I-A-T. Fuck you, Ada M. Doriat, okay? Now, when this broke out, of course, Sadie and her grandfather got like just a ton of support and a ton of love from the neighboring community and people online. And I even went onto his Facebook page to check it out. It was open to the public. You can go there if you want. And, you know, and it was just so funny to me because according to how the story continues, it gets better, believe it or not. The couple found out that the grandpa had posted this angry Facebook posting and posted the picture of the check with her name, Ada M. Doriat. And they went back to the restaurant to bitch at the owner, and apparently she was getting loud and angry and couldn't believe what had happened and how unprofessional this was. And all I'm thinking to myself is, why would you write something like that on a check and then sign your name to it? So Ada M. Doriat receives Joe the Shirt's "Fuck You" of the week. Oh God, that's just too funny to me. It's too funny to me what people are willing to get pissed off about. You know, in other news, related news actually, apparently. This isn't the only story wherein women were apparently pissed off at a restaurant. Police say that a quartet of Vallejo women were angry that their food was cold when they went through to the drive-thru at Jack in the Box. Apparently were arrested for vandalism charges. The women were arrested Sunday after they began to terrorize Jack in the Box restaurant employees because their drive-thru order was too cold. Now, the food fracas began around 12:45 p.m. The manager had offered to give the women a new meal and asked them to pull into the parking lot. The women were not satisfied with that. The women began to throw drinks at the employees through the drive-thru window. One of the women pulled an object out of her glove box that was believed to be a gun. Subsequent to that, they entered the restaurant where they basically terrorized the employees. According to this, they knocked over a cash register, drink cup lids, and straws. One of the employees was struck in the head with an object, and then the women just drove the fuck off. Employees proceeded to, take note of the driver's license, and later on that day, on the 300 block of Parkwood Avenue, Kyra Gibson, 28, was arrested on suspicion of, get this now, probation violation, vandalism, and trespassing. Osialina Nelson, 24, Alani Reed, 19, and Naja Williams, 19, were also arrested on suspicions of vandalism and trespassing. Now, look, folks, we've all been through the drive-thru and been unhappy by the time we were done with the experience, okay? And when that's happened, I go back to the restaurant and I say, hey, man, you got my order wrong. The food is cold. The drink was warm. I said no cheese on this fucking burger, whatever, And more often than not, they're more than happy to give you a whole new meal. If not, just, give you the whole new meal and your money back. So I would have to say that this went just a little bit too far. You know what I'm saying here? I don't know. It just boggles the mind how people think they can treat people in the service industry like this, I mean, one of the first rules you learn when you're working in this kind of place is you don't fuck with the people who are handling your food, okay? And you certainly, don't insult, don't make racist, allegations against them, and you certainly don't attack them physically. I mean, they couldn't. All these four women had to do was just say, "Hey, we'd like new food." Or in the other instance with Ada M. Doriot, she could have just done nothing. You know what? Just stiffing the waitress was more than enough. And I got to tell you, speaking as somebody that's gone to many restaurants here in Los Angeles and in New York and in Miami, where there are tons and tons and tons of immigrants, you know what? If you're doing your job, then I'm going to tip you. And here's another thing. Okay, let's assume that, just for argument's sake, that Sadie was not a citizen. How would they know that she wasn't in the country legally? She could have been on a student visa. She could have been on a work visa. She could have been, on a visitor's visa. I mean, there could have been a zillion reasons for her to be there. I mean, let's face facts. We as Americans go to other countries all the fucking time, So, and what do people assume about us other than being fat and lazy, So, really, it just absolutely amazes me with things that people get upset about. What else have I got here really quick here? And speaking of somebody in the service industry, I don't know if you remember this story from Michigan, Kalamazoo, that Uber driver that lost his mind. There was a Uber driver named Dalton, he was 45 years old, charged with murder and attempted murder in the February 20th shooting of 8 people, including a 14-year-old girl, in 3 locations in the Kalamazoo area. 6 people died. Apparently, he's taking the insanity defense. See, people, that's what happened when you don't tip your Uber drivers. Tip them, goddammit. They might shoot you. Actually, that's not quite what happened in this story. I remember this story very, very well because, I do drive for Uber. And what was happening was he would pick people up, drive them around, drop them off, then go off, shoot and kill somebody else, then turn his app back on, pick up more riders. So, yes, the man was in, a killing spree, but he still had to make his bills. So, there you go. And now, believe it or not, it's time for a break. Today's music is brought to you by the one and only Antonio Genovino. He doesn't have any particular songs. These are all just musical loops. The first one you heard was Action Loop number 1. Now we're going to listen to Ballet in New York, also, once again, by Antonio Genovino. I'm Joe the Shirt, I'm off the cuff, and I'll be right back. Once again, Joe the Shirt is off the cuff. Yes, once again, Joe the Shirt is off the cuff. Oh my God. And now for the second part of today's title, which is, of course, We Only Tip Citizens in Burkinis, is the whole Burkini debate that's going on in particularly in France. Now, before I continue with that, just to recap, I do support the ban on the burqa. If not on any religious level, I don't care if you're a Muslim. I could care less about your religion as a Muslim as much as I care about your religion as a Catholic or a Buddhist. I don't give a shit about your religion, okay? I think they're all stupid, all right? That being said, though, the reason I object to the burqa is not because of its religious connotations or whether or not it's oppressive to women. Don't care. What I object to is I believe that if a country wants to make it illegal to cover your face in public or in government buildings or in office buildings, well, I think that's okay because that's what most countries do. Here in the United States, you're not allowed to walk around wearing a mask all day long, you know, in public places, in office buildings, in government buildings, because, you know, that's what criminals do. That's a fact, okay? And if you're wearing a burqa, you know, quite honestly, you could be anybody, okay? You could be a man in a burqa. You really could, you know, with a machine gun underneath your blouse. It could be true. And I think that's a safety issue, not a religious issue. Now, I know the French don't take it that way, but you know what? Fuck them. They're French. They're stupid anyway. Now, on that same note, I have no objections to the burkini. Now, if you're wondering what a burkini is, which, by the way, I don't think is actually the official name, but okay, think of a burqa combined with a bikini, thus the burkini. Now, what it actually is yes, the woman, it's swimwear that a Muslim woman would wear to go to, say, the beach or, say, a public pool. And it's something that they would wear, you know, for modesty's sake, for religious sake, and that's fine, whatever. And it covers the woman basically from her ankles all the way up to her head and on top of her head, and it goes down covers her entire torso and covers her arms all the way down to the wrist. So basically, all you see is the woman's feet, her hands, and here's the important part, you can see her face. All right? That I have absolutely no problem with, okay? The safety issue is taken care of. All right? And also, if you look at the burkinis, they, for the most part, they tend to be a little bit more on the form-fitting side. So, you know, you can tell that a woman has tits. All right? Now, mind you, obviously, they could be just a pair of socks in there. But the point is, you can see the woman's face. Now, here, let me grab my article here. Let's see, from the LA Times. According to this, France already prohibits the wearing of face-covering veils anywhere in public, which, like I said, I support. and headscarves in state schools, which I don't support that. According to them, both are seen as ways to oppress women and are at odds with laws aiming to keep religious attire out of public life. Now, we're talking about France here, which has a decently large, last time I checked, Catholic population, and my friend Thinkerbell, she posted a picture recently of how a woman. She shows a picture of a woman in a burkini, which somehow that's not okay. But then they show a picture of a nun who is covered head to toe, except for the fact that you can see her hands, her feet, and her face. But that's okay, apparently. Why? Because it's part of their religion. See, folks, that's what we call hypocrisy. All right? Now, the biggest deal here, according to people that support the ban on the burkini, is the idea that, they're trying to keep religion out of secular life, and they're trying to keep the oppression of women out of secular life. And the fact of the matter is, as long as no safety issues are being violated, I don't have a problem with whatever the fuck you want to wear anywhere you go. You know what? You could wear, you could wear a beanie with a dildo on the side of your head, and you can, I don't care. As long as I can see your face, I don't care. Let's see. According to this here, a French court has rejected a demand by a group of French Muslims in Cannes to overturn a ban on full-body, head-covering swimwear on city beaches. A lawyer for the collective against Islamophobia in France said after the decision by a court in nearby Nice that he would lodge an appeal with the Council of State, the highest administrative body in France. The ruling upholding the ban on so-called burkinis fell as the newspaper Nit Matin reported that another Riviera town, Villeneuve-Loubet, had issued a similar ban. France is at the height of vacation season and on the edge after deadly Islamic extremist attacks on Nice and on the Catholic Church. Okay, that being said, so what? Okay, one of the things that I've never liked about the French, and there's a lot not to not like about the French, is that the French are snobs. The French are truly, you know how people always say that Americans think that they're better than everybody else? Bullshit. The French think that they're better than everybody else. The French believe that their way is the best way. So much, in fact, that the French went out of their way to make sure that the French language sounds beautiful. They actually twisted their own language over time on purpose, to make sure that it sounded a certain, as they put it, beautiful way. Whereas other languages, it's like English, Spanish, what have you, Farsi, their languages developed naturally based on what people saw and did and needed. But the French, no, they don't think so. The French also, have strict rules on what they consider food, vegetables, fruit. They have strict rules on what they believe constitutes a good wine, or the French are snobs, okay? And one of the things that the French really, really hate is the idea of any other culture infringing, or worse yet, influencing their culture. The French truly believe that their culture is the greatest culture in the whole wide world, and all other cultures are shit, and that we should adapt to them. Which, I suppose if you go to France, you should learn how to be French on some level or another. But, that doesn't leave a lot of room for individuality, and thus where you get the idea that the French are so fucking rude, because they truly believe their shit don't stink. So on this one, you know what? The French, they can go fuck themselves too, all right? You know what? You look at the old-timey bathing suits that women used to wear right here in the United States. Do you remember those fucking things? Women, they were wearing like fucking bloomers from head to toe. You know, they got the full torso cover up. You know, a really, really risque outfit back then was where you could see a woman's, you know, like upper arm. It was like, ooh, oh my God, look, you can see her elbow. Ah. But then everything else was covered up, and like they had bathing suits with ruffles. I want you to really think about that. Right here in the United States, only like maybe 100 years ago, you know, women were wearing bathing suits with ruffles. You couldn't even make out a leg. If they went in too deep, there was a good chance they would drown. But now the French want to get all bitchy about the burkini. Fuck the French, all right? I don't support that. No, they got that one wrong, all right? Tinkerbell, you got this one right, all right, kid? I support you on this one. That's bullshit. And now, how about we go with a few lighter stories? Let's see. What should I go with? Oh, yes. Child on slide gets decapitated. I love these little throwaway stories, don't you? A 10-year-old boy was decapitated as he rode a 168-foot tall water slide at a water park in Kansas City, a person familiar with the investigation said. According to this, let's see. The person spoke on condition of anonymity because the person is not authorized to speak about Caleb Schwab's death Sunday on the raft ride at the Schlitterbahn water park. Two women who are not family members were in the raft at the time with the boy and were treated for facial injuries. A spokeswoman for the water park on Wednesday declined to discuss the circumstances of the boy's death. The park reopened Wednesday, except for the sprawling section, including the water slide. You know, they tell you, you keep your hands and feet inside the ride at all time. I guess they forgot to mention the whole head thing. I don't know. Now, you ever wonder who's most likely to kill themselves? What occupation is most likely to kill yourself? Well, you know what? It just so happens I have a list, which is actually different from previous lists that I've read to you about this. But this is the most recent one. So, let's see. According to this, suicide rate high for certain jobs. Let's see. Farmers, lumberjacks, and fishermen have the highest suicide rate in the United States. I don't know why exactly. It doesn't say here why. I mean, it always seems to me that farmers always seem like the happiest, salt of the earth kind of folk. I don't know. Maybe after a while you just get tired, you're sick and tired. You say, you know what? I probably have to pick up one more fucking potato. I'm going to off myself. And lumberjacks, I never got the idea that lumberjacks wanted to kill themselves. Every time you ever see lumberjacks in movies, they always look so damn happy. They're like, oh, I've been working on the railroad, chopping all this wood. I don't know where that came from. And fishermen. I don't see it because I got to tell you, I've gone fishing. I've chopped wood. By the time I was done, and I've actually done some farming. Actually, now that I think about it, I've done some farming. My grandfather had farms. I've done some farming. I've chopped wood. I've gone fishing. At the end of the day, I did not want to kill myself. Now, the study doesn't explore the reasons behind the differences, but researchers found the high suicide rates in manual laborers who work in isolation and face unsteady employment. Okay, we're talking about, I guess that might make sense. You're by yourself all day and you have to use your body all day and you're using your body all freaking day. You got nobody to talk to. All right. High rates were also seen in carpenters, miners, electricians, and construction workers. Now, this I thought was a little funny, a little different. Dentists, doctors, and other healthcare professionals had an 80% lower suicide rate than farmers, fishermen, and lumberjacks. I did not see that one coming. I mean, up until very recently, people in healthcare professions were known to have very high suicide rates, but I guess this is different. And finally, before we go on the break, from Massachusetts, A 64-year-old cancer patient has received the nation's first penis transplant. Yeah, you heard me. A 64-year-old cancer patient has received the nation's first penis transplant, a groundbreaking operation that may also help accident victims and some of the many U.S. veterans maimed by roadside bombs. In a case that represents the latest frontier in the growing field of reconstructive transplants, Thomas Manning of of Halifax, Massachusetts, is faring well after the 15-hour operation at Massachusetts General Hospital. His doctor said they are cautiously optimistic that Manning will eventually be able to urinate normally and function sexually again for the first time since aggressive penile cancer led to the amputation of the former bank courier's genitals in 2012. They said his psychological state will play a big role in the recovery. I would say that whether or not he can get some pussy will play a big role in his recovery. I know, tacky. But isn't that why you guys listen to me? And it's time for our next break. Once again, our music today is brought to you by Antonio Genovino. And this one's called, let's see, what was it playing? Oh, yes. This one's called An Epic Day. I'm Joe the Shirt. I'm off the cuff, and I'll be right back. Promise. And once again, Joe the Shirt is off the cuff. And he's back, too. Once again, Joe the Shirt is off the cuff. Oh, my. Oh, my. That's my George Takei impression. Star Trek. Oh, my. Excuse me. Just sipping a little ginger ale there. Nothing else in it. Like I said, my mom's coming this weekend, so I've been sober all week because I don't want to run the risk that I'll go into like one of my binge drinking episodes, and she'll get here and I'm all sloshed and throwing up in a bucket. So didn't want to do that. Recent article that's here. People are questioning whether or not boxing should be stopped. They're actually debating whether or not you should stop the sport of boxing because Muhammad Ali's recent death raises the questions about the sport's brutality, about how how people can get seriously injured, they can get seriously hurt. You're talking about concussions. We're talking about jarring the brain and causing mental defects and all that shit. And I'm thinking to myself, stop being such a pack of pussies. Have you seen UFC? Have you seen MMA? Are you kidding me? You want to talk about boxing being too fucking brutal? Fuck you! No, bullshit. I don't want to hear about it. I think it's a rather moot point. It's people talk about severe injuries to the head and the limbs, and I'm like, you want to get rid of boxing? Let's get rid of football. You want to get rid of football? Then you have to get rid of MMA and UFC and all that bullshit. And I'm like, no. You know what? We're humans, and humans, despite all you hippy dippy, flower loving, tree hugging bitches, and some of you are very good friends of mine, and thank you for listening. then I love you. Despite all that, humanity is a brutal, violent race. Okay? We love to be entertained, all right? We like to be entertained with violence. And if we can't do violence, we want to pay other people to do violence, okay? That was the whole thing behind, the Romans and the gladiators, man. Most Roman citizens couldn't fight worth dick, okay? That's what the army was for. The proletarians and the Romans, the guards, the soldiers, and because they couldn't be on the battlefield to watch, they came up with the idea of gladiators. Let's build a big fucking arena. Let's put a couple of big ass dudes in there and make them kill each other. And then we've brought this down through the ages to, to boxing, to UFC, to MMA, to karate and kung fu tournaments. I mean, it's like to wrestling. I mean, we enjoy our violence. And I'm getting sick and tired of people trying to deny it. And I don't just mean the hippy dippy flower loving tree hugging people either. I'm talking about people that talk about how, well, I really enjoy, the sport and the technique of the. Shut the fuck up, all right? You like to watch two big dudes hitting each other, all right? Just admit it. And it's gone beyond that. Now we've got female UFC, MMA, and female boxing. It's like, we want to see big muscular bitches beating the fuck out of each other, okay? And they all better have cornrows. Don't feed me bullshit and tell me it's chocolate ice cream, okay? And then we go from that to this. As you all know, the Olympics just wrapped up. I did not watch a single Olympic event. Not one. Not a single one. I didn't find the time. I couldn't call the interest, and it's a shame too, because it was in Brazil, in Rio, and a good friend of mine is from Rio, my buddy Kwe, and I would love to have been able to talk to him about it afterwards, because I'm sure he watched it. He's the kind of guy that likes to stay in shape and likes to do sports. But I didn't watch a single thing, and the rating, and I am not alone, because the ratings for this year's Olympics were pretty fucking low, and honestly, what? If it's not Olympic winter curling, I just can't watch anymore. That sport where you have a team of 4 people, where one guy slides a rock down a stretch of ice, and 2 people with brooms clean the ice in front of the rock, and then there's some other guy way at the end there, like adjusting with his own broom where the rock will go. And that was absolutely thrilling to me. So, you laugh now, but I gotta tell you, the last 2 Winter Olympics, that was one of the most highly watched events in all of the Olympics. And you know why? Because every guy watching curling was thinking to themselves, I got 3 buddies that would help me do this. Now, here's one for you. You may have heard of, or may probably not have heard of, one Michael Udall. Now, there's a lot of sports out there that are not in the Olympics. Like darts. And some sports go in and out of the Olympics. Like they're planning on bringing baseball back to the Olympics. I know a lot of you are thinking to yourselves, baseball's not in the Olympics, or maybe baseball was in the Olympics, but yeah, baseball has been an Olympic sport, and I think for the Japan Games, they're planning on bringing it back. Okay, and that's okay with me. That's a legitimate sport. Now, Michael Udall wants to bring his quote unquote sport to the next Olympics. Michael Udall earns 3 years worth of tuition and a medal in college for his video game team, when his video game team won a national tournament in April. That's right. Yes. He and several others, especially, what's the name of this freaking group here? I know we all know it. Esports. They want to bring video gaming to the Olympics. Okay? And I say no. That's wrong. That's bullshit. You're not bringing video gaming to the Olympics. No. Anything that I can do sitting down, drinking beer, smoking weed, eating potato chips, and on my ass is not a sport. Okay? As many of you know, I love to play poker. I love poker. I will watch poker. I used to get paid to watch poker, read about poker, play poker, talk about poker. And then my job was to write about it. Okay? And after hours upon hours and days and weeks and months and years of poker, I can tell you for right now, I do not have the body of an athlete. Poker's not a sport, and gaming is not a sport. All right? And you know what's really sick to me is when I'm seeing interviews of these poker players on TV, and they're talking about, we really want to bring people more into the sport of poker. And I'm like, shut the fuck up! Poker's not a sport. and neither is video gaming. And team video gaming is even less of a sport. So now let me get this straight. It's not good enough that you want to be an Olympian playing video games by yourself. You want to have a team of 3 other people with you to help you win the gold. No. Fuck you, nerd. You don't get to be a sport. People love doing stupid shit. I know. I love doing stupid shit too, but even I have my limits, all right? Oh, my God. Now, so in Wyoming, they have wind farms. In case you don't know what a wind... I know, quite the segue. I know, right? The studio audience is looking at me like... Anyway, I know you're thinking here, in Wyoming, they have wind farms, much like they do in lots of parts of the country that are you ready for this? Where it's windy, all right? And they have wind farms. The whole purpose of these wind farms, of course, is so the wind can blow these windmills, and these windmills turn these turbines, and these turbines create power, thus electricity, and thus they are able to, light up houses and shit like that, all right? Anyway, so the question was asked by the Wyoming state government, who owns that wind? They were thinking about it. Hey, wait a minute. Somebody's making money off that wind. Who owns that wind that they're using to turn those windmills and those turbines and produce energy for those people? Well, the state decided, well, we do. And if we own it, we can tax it. That's right. The state of Wyoming is taxing wind. So next time you and your kid are out in Wyoming and you're flying a kite, you better bring a W-2 with you. The IRS is going to be there. Before we take our next break, let's go through celebrity birthdays. One of my faves, And we got a lot of them today. Shit, man. If your birthday falls on August 25th, you share birthdays with actress Blake Lively is 29 years old. Singer Billy Ray Cyrus is 55 years old. Director Tim Burton is 58 years old. The one and only Sean Connery is 86 years old. Gene Simmons, that dildo, is 67 years old. TV personality Rachel Ray is 48 years old. Alexander Skarsgård is 40. You remember him most recently from the newest Tarzan movie or from the TV show True Blood. Singer Elvis Costello is 62. The one and only Claudia Schiffer is 46 years old. Regis Philbin is 85. I can't believe he's still breathing. And Blair Underwood, most notably of LA Law fame, is 52 years old. And now it is time for a break. Once again, here's Antonio Genovino with his music. It's called From China. once again, the shot is off the cuff. Okay, that was offensive. Well, once again, the shot is off the cuff. My apologies to all my Italian fans. Anyway, before I move on to the heavier story, not really heavy. I don't have not too many heavy stories left. But we're almost done, you know. So, you know, those of you who are out there that are getting ready to watch, you know, the real news or something, you know, we're almost done. You know, just keep listening to my bullshit, and then when we're done, you can turn on the news and see what's going on, where you can get everything I tell you, but without as much cursing and jokes. Anyway, now, if you happen to be like me, which is a spick, also known as Puerto Rican, and you happen to live or are visiting Puerto Rico, please be careful. Don't have sex with any of the natives. Or actually, don't have sex with whoever you're there with, even if you bring them along with you, because the Zika virus is hit its most rampant rate in all of the United States of America and its territories in Puerto Rico. The Zika infections in Puerto Rico have already surpassed 10,000, and scientists estimate that by the end of the year, 1/4, I'm talking about 25% of the population of my island will be infected with the Zika virus at one point or another. So be careful out there. Now, if in case you guys are wondering what I'm talking about, if your head's been in the sand all year long, you don't know what the Zika virus is. That's spelled Zika. It is a virus spread mostly by mosquitoes. That for the most part doesn't really affect you as an adult, but if either a man or a woman have it and they have sex and the woman gets pregnant, there is a definitely high risk of some very severe birth defects. Okay, as a matter of fact, it is recommended that if you have been to Puerto Rico recently and you come back and you're looking to get pregnant, to not have sex if you're a man for at least 2 weeks, if you're a woman for at least a month or two. If your plan is to get pregnant, you might want to consult your doctors on that one. Okay, I mentioned this because a couple of very close friends of mine from high school who are married now were just recently in Puerto Rico, and I was making fun of them, you know, telling them, hey, be careful. Quarter of the population is going to have Zika. Over 10,000 already have Zika. Don't have sex. And at which point I said, sorry, Jason, you know, he's my buddy. And he's, you know, if you're planning on getting pregnant, don't do it, you know, after you've been in Puerto Rico for a few weeks. Okay, just wait a few weeks, talk to your doctor, see if it's okay to get pregnant, get tested. You know, if you're in Puerto Rico and you live there and you plan on having a kid, I don't know if there's an inoculation for it. You might want to look into that. Because the last thing we need is a bunch of little retarded Ricans all over the place. It's going to be Puerto retardants. We don't need a whole bunch of Puerto retardants. Oh my God, I just coined the term, Puerto retardants, because of the Zika virus. So just be careful out there, all right? If you're planning on getting pregnant, just be careful. Check with your doctor. That's all I'm saying. Okay, now. And my last story for today, believe it or not, we're almost done, is driverless cars. Driverless cars are finally coming. As a matter of fact, not only are they coming, but the Ford Motor Company, who is in partnership with Uber, are planning on having a driverless car available for limited sale by the year 2021. Okay? Ford apparently is the only car company so far to have actually given a date. I mean, there are a bunch of other car companies out there that are actually working on this. Actually, I got a list right here. Let's see, who's working on this? Let's see. Fiat Chrysler, BMW, General Motors, Volvo, Tesla, and of course Ford are all working on driverless cars. But Ford so far has been the only one to give you a date. Let's see. And like I said, they are in partnerships with Lyft and Volvo and Ford, also with Uber. Now this bothers me on several levels. First level being, I drive for Uber. I drive a Ford. And they're both working together to put me out of a fucking job. What the fuck, man? I work for you, I bought your product, and now you're trying to get me out of a job. You're trying to take my job. You know, bastards. Now, I mean, every time I think about the driverless cars, like driverless, cabs and stuff, I keep thinking about that Johnny Cab. What was that? What was the movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger? They did their really shitty remake with a Farrell. I'm trying to. Oh my god! Shit! Fuck! Now this is where I wish this was a true call-in show. It's like, where he goes to Mars. Watch, I'll remember it like right after the show's over. Anyway, so you got the Johnny Cab where it's a self-driving car, but they still got like the cab driver, like a robotic cab driver. He's like, "Welcome, I'm Johnny Cab. What is your destination?" Anyway, and it sounds cool, right? Because there's a lot of people out there, mostly a lot of women in particular, who don't feel comfortable when they get into an Uber or a Lyft or even just everyday cab, and the driver's a man, and you're a woman, and and we've heard all the stories. It has been known to happen where Uber, Lyft drivers, and cab drivers have sexually assaulted female passengers. It's happened. Okay, I didn't do it. All right, or in the story that I read to you earlier, where the Uber driver lost his mind and went out and killed 6 people while still continuing to work. Now that is work dedication. Okay, I want you to think of that. Even a psychotic was still willing to do his job. But so, and I understand that. I mean, like right now, there's also certain ride-sharing companies that specialize in only driving women, and thus they only have female drivers. There's some ride-sharing companies that specialize in driving only children, and thus all their drivers are either women or people that have worked in childcare services or people that have children of their own. All right? I don't even want to get into the sexist ramifications of all that right just this second, but it's there. But here's the thing that I have, you guys should really have a stronger objection to, more than drivers being put out of work, more than the idea that you might get attacked by your driver, is the fact that every modern car that comes out that is driven in the United States has a computer in it of some sort or another. Okay? We're talking about just be way beyond GPS and crap like that. We're talking about GPS. We're talking about satellite. We're talking about controls for the car, and every computer that I know of is hackable. And here is what they're talking about. According to security experts, millions of keyless entry systems are hackable. And it's been known to happen where cars themselves have been taken over by hackers. It can be done, and it was demonstrated to a few of these security experts how it can be done. Where somebody's just driving down the street, and the hackers. This was in a controlled situation. The hackers were able to take control of the navigation, of the steering, of the brakes, of everything. Or even the engine, where it's very possible that you'll be just driving down the street and all of a sudden, boom, your car just turns itself off you're on the freeway doing 70, that could be a problem. And when you consider that, emails of presidential candidates are being hacked, we consider that the FBI gets hacked, we consider that, all these allegedly, foolproof tech companies are getting hacked all the time. Banks getting hacked all the time. Are you really ready to let yourself be driven by a vehicle that doesn't have human control on it? Are you real? And another thing that has been known to happen is that a lot of times people are putting a little too much confidence into their, driverless cars. For instance, the recent Tesla issue where I think it was called, like, they allegedly had a self-driving system, and they were testing the cars, and the cars were allegedly able to drive themselves, and they were being tested. And the whole idea of the test was, that you let the car drive for you, but at the same time you always have your hands ready and your feet ready to grab the wheel or hit the brake if necessary. All right? Yes, because the cars have sensors all around them, and yes, they have very sophisticated computers. But people, the testers themselves were starting to get a little ridiculous in that, after like a couple of weeks or even a couple of days, they were letting the car take care of everything. They would just, punch in or tell the car where it is they were going, and then they'd be reading the paper, they'd be having coffee, they'd be talking to their friends, they'd be playing Pokemon Go on their phone, And you know what happened? These people got into accidents. And in the Tesla incident, somebody actually died because this asshole was actually just not paying attention to what the car was fucking doing. And then, of course, everybody starts wanting to sue Tesla because, it's like, you're self-driving, the term self-driving is very misleading. And I'm like, I don't know, I think self-driving is pretty self-explanatory to me. But for me, that is really my main issue is, like, like I said, every computer on this planet is hackable. And especially every computer that's available to every Tom, Dick, and Harry is hackable, all right? If you don't believe me, you know what? Not that... what was it, about 15 years ago, my bank account was hacked. Yeah, somebody got all my money. The bank was nice enough to give it back. It took a few weeks, but they gave it back finally. But for those few weeks, I had no fucking money. And that's 15 years ago, before technology was anywhere near advanced, or before hackers were anywhere near as advanced as they are right now. So before I know that's what we want. We all want this technology. We all do, okay? But you have to remember that with this technology, that the best you can do is have, software and hardware on your car or on your computer or on your phone that will protect you most of the time. But the truth of the matter is, if somebody really, really, really wants to get into your computer, they can. If somebody really, really, really wants to take control of your brand new car, your brand new Tesla, your brand new Ford, your Fiat, your Chrysler, your BMW, if somebody really wants to take control of your car, they can. All right. Your greatest protection against hackers is that there's so many millions of us out there, and hackers, while they tend to be a growing population, are still a very small amount of the population. That's your biggest protection. You can put all the protective software on your stuff that you want, but if one of these guys that's anywhere halfway good really wants to get it, they can. All right, so that's where I'm coming from right now. I think that Ford's prediction of 2021, that's only 5 years from now. Not even 5 years. I mean, the end of the year is right around the corner. It's a little over 4 years now. I think that's just a little bit optimistic. All right. Watch, I'm going to remember the name of that Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. It's going to piss me off to no end. As soon as I get off the phone, as soon as I get off the show with you, I swear to God, I'm gonna remember it. I'm gonna be pissed off about it. In any case, that pretty much is the show. Oh wait, except for one last thing. Hold on, I got one last thing. I'll try to leave off on a slightly lighter note. was talking about people having sex in Puerto Rico and all that, and not to have it. Well, in case you're wondering about the effectiveness of contraception, well, I have a list for you of the most effective to the least effective forms of contraception. Okay, and this. Let's see, and this refers to just how what are the odds? This is a percentage that you can get pregnant. First one, the implant, which goes into the woman. You have a 0.05% of getting pregnant. That's pretty good. Mind you, though, there is still that itty bitty teeny tiny little chance. Permanent sterilization, that's for men. You have a 0.15% chance of getting pregnant. Still pretty good. Intrauterine device. You have a 0.2% chance of getting pregnant. Permanent sterilization for the female. Believe it or not, actually higher. You have a 0.5% chance of getting pregnant. So you have like a 0.5% chance of getting pregnant. Let's see. Intrauterine device made out of copper T, you have a 0.8% chance. And now from there, where everything is under 1%, it takes a big jump. All right? If you're taking an injectable, 6% chance of getting pregnant. If you're taking a pill, patch, or a ring, 9% chance of getting pregnant. If you're using the diaphragm, you have a 12% chance of getting pregnant. If you're using the sponge, you have, again, a 12% chance of getting pregnant. If you're using a condom, male condom now, you have an 18% chance of getting pregnant. When you think about it, that's almost 1 out of 5. That's pretty high. If you're using a female condom, which, by the way, you never ever want to see one of those things, just trust me on that, you have a 21% chance of getting pregnant. If you're using withdrawal, just pulling out, you have a 22% chance of getting pregnant. Now think about that for a second. There's only 1% difference between a female condom and just pulling out. All right? If you're using a porous sponge for women, you have a 24% chance of getting pregnant. If you're using fertility awareness-based methods, also known as the rhythm method, you have a 24% chance of getting pregnant. And if you're just using spermicide, you have a 28% chance of getting pregnant. Now let's think about that. 3 of these are not as effective as some teenager just pulling out at the last second. And there you go. That is the show, ladies and gentlemen, and those of you in between, you LGBTQs. And now for our last loop of the day by Antonio Genovino. It's called Action Loop Number 2. Thank you for listening. I'm Joe the Shirt, and I've been off the cuff. Actually, before I go, one more thing. I want to remind you guys, you can listen to this show on my Facebook page under Joseph Negron. You can get the show on YouTube. You can also listen to it on Spreaker.com for free under Joe the Shirt's Off the Cuff. And for some reason or another, it appears on Twitter. I'm not sure why. So once again, I'm Joe the Shirt, and I've been off the cuff.